The day I found out my marriage was a lie, I wasn't standing in a courtroom or a lawyer's office. I was in the back of my husband's car. A car I bought for him, by the way, sleek black sedan I financed after he cried in our kitchen about how much he hated his old beat-up truck. I was on my way to pick up his mother from the airport, a woman I have spent the last 7 years trying to love. And I was listening to a voicemail he'd left for his divorce attorney. That was the moment. Not a dramatic confrontation. Not a stranger's phone call. Just me, sitting in the leather back seat of a car that had my name on the title. Wearing a sundress I'd bought specifically because it was his mother's favorite color. Holding a lukewarm iced coffee that was slowly sweating through the cardboard sleeve. And I was listening to my husband's voice, that same voice that had whispered "I love you" to me that morning, and I heard him say, "Yeah, she's completely oblivious." He was talking to his lawyer. I didn't know he had a lawyer. I didn't know he was planning a divorce. I didn't know the business was failing. I didn't know any of it. But there it was, crystal clear, coming through the car's Bluetooth system like a bad dream. "She's driving my mom home from the airport right now," he said. "I can have her sign the papers tonight. She doesn't question anything I hand her. She thinks it's an insurance update. Look, I'm telling you, the business is already running at a loss. Once we finalize the separation and the paperwork's filed, I'll be the one holding the debt. I'll be the one who looks like the victim. She'll be the one on the hook." I sat there at a red light. I remember the exact intersection. I remember the gas station on the corner. I remember the license plate of the car in front of me. I remember the way the sun was hitting the windshield, making everything look golden and warm, the way it does on a perfect southern afternoon. And I just sat there, frozen, trying to process what I had just heard. The voicemail continued. I heard his attorney's recorded greeting, then the beep, then Ethan's voice again, confident, almost casual, like he was ordering takeout. "Yeah, I need to move on this quickly. She's been asking about the insurance forms. I've got them ready. She'll sign. She's been signing stuff for me for 18 years. She doesn't even read the fine print anymore." He called it a survival fund. That was the phrase that really got me. "The survival fund is safe," he said. "I've been transferring a little bit every month. She won't notice. She never notices. She's too busy trying to be the perfect wife, too busy trying to impress my mother. It's actually sad, you know. But this is business. This is survival." I think that's when I finally understood. It wasn't just about money. It wasn't even just about the divorce. It was about how he saw me. He saw me as a tool, a resource, a means to an end, something to be used and then discarded. I was the woman who had stood by him when his business failed the first time. I was the woman who had cashed out her retirement fund to keep him afloat. I was the woman who had endured 7 years of his mother's barely concealed contempt, smiling through every holiday dinner, every passive-aggressive comment. Every time Olivia mentioned how much she wished her son had married someone from a good family. And all of that, all of it, had been a transaction to him. A transaction he was now ready to close. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't call him back and confront him. I just set the phone down on the seat next to me, took a long sip of my coffee, and kept driving. Because I had to pick up his mother. And if I was going to survive this, I needed to be smarter than them. I needed to be quieter than them. I needed to play the game better than they ever imagined I could. The airport was chaos, as always. I found Olivia at baggage claim, standing there with her designer luggage and her perpetual look of bored disdain. She was wearing too much perfume, the kind that gave me a headache if I sat too close to her for too long. She was wearing a cream-colored pantsuit, probably bought specifically for this trip, because she always had to look like she was more important than everyone else in the room. "Claire," she said, not hugging me, just handing me her luggage. "I told you to bring the car around. I don't like waiting at the curb." I smiled. I smiled so hard my face felt like it might crack. "It's so good to see you, Olivia. You look wonderful. That's a beautiful suit," she sniffed, accepting the compliment as her due. "I told Ethan you should be at the office," she said, as we walked toward the parking garage. "But he said you needed to pick me up. I don't understand why he can't just get an assistant to do these things. But I suppose he's trying to be a good husband, even if that means inconveniencing me." I wanted to tell her that her son was about to destroy my life. I wanted to tell her that she had been sitting at my table for 7 years, eating my food, enjoying my hospitality, while she knew exactly what was coming. I knew she knew. I had always known she knew. The way she looked at me sometimes, like I was just a placeholder, just someone filling a role until something better came along. She had never liked me. She had never wanted me. And now I understood why. I drove her back to the house, my house. The house I had bought with the money from my father's land. My father, who had worked himself to death in a textile mill, who had saved every penny he could so his daughter could have a better life. My father, who had never gotten to see me get married. My father, who would have seen right through Ethan in about 5 seconds. I had inherited that land, sold it, and bought the house. It was in my name. My name only. And now they were trying to take it from me. I listened to Olivia complain the entire drive. About the flight. About the food. About the lack of standards in first class. About how she wished Ethan had just come to pick her up himself. I nodded and made sympathetic noises. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I watched her in the rearview mirror, this woman who had been planning my downfall with her son, and I smiled. I smiled because I needed to survive. When we got home, Ethan was waiting in the driveway. He opened my door for me because he was always a perfect gentleman when he wanted something. He kissed my cheek. He hugged his mother. He told her how beautiful she looked. He was so charming. He was always so charming. It was the thing I had loved about him once. That easy, effortless charm. I had thought it was generosity of spirit. I had thought it was love. Now I understood. It was performance. It had always been performance. "Let's get inside," he said. "I want to show you something." I followed them into the house. Into my house. The house I had furnished and decorated and made into a home. We sat down in the living room. Ethan had paperwork on the coffee table. A thick stack, bound with a paper clip. "This is just the insurance update I was telling you about," he said. "We need to sign these. It's just a formality. They're changing the way they handle the beneficiaries. We just need to update the paperwork. It's a lot of pages, but it's all just boilerplate. You can sign wherever I put the sticky note." He handed me a pen. His mother was watching. She was practically vibrating with anticipation. She couldn't help herself. She was so sure they had already won. I looked at the stack of papers. I looked at the pen in my hand. I looked at my husband's face, that beautiful face I had loved for 18 years. And I smiled again. "Of course," I said. "I'll sign whatever you need me to. You know I trust you." He handed me the papers. I read the first page. Just an insurance form. But I knew the real documents were buried somewhere in there. The documents that would transfer the debt to me. The documents that would make me responsible for the company's failure. The documents that would ruin my credit, my reputation, my entire future. And I just sat there, reading the fine print, pretending to be the trusting wife. "I'll sign these tonight," I said. "After dinner. I want to make sure I read everything. You know how I am. I like to understand what I'm signing. It's just how I was raised." A flicker of something crossed Ethan's face. Something like panic. Something like annoyance. He was used to me signing things blindly. He was used to me trusting him completely. He didn't expect me to read the paperwork. He didn't expect me to question anything. But I was questioning everything now. I was questioning 18 years of my life. I was questioning every decision I had ever made. His mother jumped in. "Claire, dear, it's just standard paperwork. Do you really need to read all of it? It's so much legalese. Just sign where they ask you to sign. That's what everyone does." I looked at her. For the first time in 7 years, I really looked at her. I saw the cruelty hiding behind her eyes. The calculation. The contempt. She had been playing a long game. She had been playing me for 7 years. and I was done being played. "I'll read it tonight," I said again. "It won't take long. I'll sign it before bed. I promise." Olivia's mouth tightened. Her eyes flicked to her son. Something passed between them. Something I couldn't quite read, but I knew it wasn't good. I knew they were starting to worry, and that was fine. I wanted them to worry. I wanted them to wonder if I knew more than I was letting on. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to my husband, listening to him breathe, and I thought about everything. About the voicemail. About the money. About the secret plan to destroy me. I thought about the woman in the photograph. The one I was going to find out about later that night when the real nightmare began. I thought about what my father would have said. About how he taught me to be strong, to be self-reliant, to never let anyone take advantage of me. And I had let this happen. I had let this man, this beautiful, charming man, take everything. I waited until I heard his deep, steady breathing. Then I got out of bed. I crept into his office. It was a disaster, as always. Papers everywhere. Old files. Piles of receipts. He kept it locked, but I knew the combination to the safe. I knew everything about him. Or so I thought. I opened the safe. There were binders inside. Financial documents. Tax returns. And one folder, unmarked, tucked in the back. I pulled it out. I sat down on the floor of his office, in the dark, and I started reading. And that's when I found the truth. The folder contained a detailed plan. A blueprint for the dissolution of our marriage. He had listed our assets. The house. The cabin in the mountains. The cars. The retirement accounts. He had listed the company debt and the company assets. And he had cleverly positioned me as the person who had mismanaged the funds. There were drafts of emails he planned to send to the board, making it look like I had been the one making the poor decisions. There were copies of loan documents with my signature. Signatures I didn't remember signing, signatures that looked just like mine, but were carefully constructed to shift the blame. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was tucked in the back of the folder. A photograph. A photograph of Ethan and a woman I didn't recognize, on a beach with a little boy in a life jacket. A little boy with Ethan's eyes. A little boy who looked just like him. I stared at the date on the back of the photograph. It was 9 years ago. 9 years ago, when we were trying to have a baby. 9 years ago, when I was taking fertility drugs and suffering through miscarriages. 9 years ago, while I was in a hospital bed crying, he was on a beach with another woman and a child. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there in the dark, holding the photograph, and I felt something inside me break. Or maybe not break. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was something being forged. Something cold and hard and unbreakable. I realized in that moment that I wasn't just being set up for financial ruin. I was being erased from history. I was being replaced. I had already been replaced. I took the photograph. I took copies of the financial documents. I took the drafts of the emails. I took everything that would be useful. I put the folder back exactly as I found it. I went back to bed, and I lay there in the dark, listening to the man I had loved for 18 years, and I felt the cold, hard steel of clarity settle in my bones. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to fight. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I told Ethan I was taking his mother shopping, that I wanted to bond. He was thrilled. He saw this as a way to keep me busy while the lawyers finalized everything. "That's a great idea," he said. "You two need to spend more time together. Your family." He had no idea what I was about to do. I drove Olivia to the mall. She complained the whole time. She told me I was driving too slow. She told me the car was too hot. She told me I had no sense of fashion. I just smiled. I smiled and nodded and let her talk. We walked through the department store, and while she was trying on overpriced blazers, I pulled out my phone and called my friend Sarah. Sarah wasn't just a friend. Sarah was a lawyer, a corporate lawyer who specialized in financial crimes. She had worked for the SEC. She had seen every kind of fraud, every kind of betrayal. She was the smartest person I knew, and she was going to help me destroy my husband. "Sarah," I said, my voice low. I need your help, and I need you to not ask too many questions right now. But I need you to meet me today, somewhere private. I have something to show you." She didn't hesitate. "I'll be at the coffee shop on Elm Street in an hour," she said. "I'll reserve the back room. Just get there when you can." I hung up. Olivia came out of the dressing room with 3 blazers and a pair of shoes. "What do you think?" she demanded. "These are expensive. I think I deserve something expensive after that terrible flight." "They look wonderful," I said. "You should get all of them. I'll buy them for you. As a thank you for visiting." She was shocked. She was pleased. She was completely oblivious to the trap that was closing around her and her son. She thought I was just trying to buy her affection. She had no idea I was biding my time. After I dropped her back at the house, I drove to the coffee shop. Sarah was already there. She had a folder open on the table. "Claire," she said, "what's going on? You looked like you were about to throw up when you called me. Did something happen with Ethan?" I sat down. I put the folder on the table. I opened it. I showed her the photograph first. The photograph of my husband and the woman and the child. Sarah looked at it. Her eyes widened. "Claire, who is this woman?" "I don't know," I said. "But I'm going to find out. And that's not the worst part. Look at these." I showed her the financial documents, the drafts of the emails, the loan papers with my forged signature. Sarah read them carefully. She took her time. When she was done, she looked at me with something like respect. Or maybe pity. I couldn't tell. "He's been planning this for at least 2 years, she said. "He's been moving money. He's set up a shell company. He's been documenting everything to make it look like you were the one making the bad decisions. He's positioned you as the villain, Claire. He wants to destroy you. He wants to take everything and leave you with nothing. And he's been working on this for a long time." "I know," I said. "I found the documents last night. He's been siphoning money from the company accounts. He calls it the survival fund. He's been hiding it, making it look like the company is failing. So when the divorce happens, he'll be the one who looks like the victim." Sarah leaned back in her chair. "This is serious," she said. "This is criminal. This is theft. He's been embezzling from his own company. And he's been trying to frame you for it. Claire, we can go to the police with this. We can freeze his accounts. We can put a stop to this right now." "Not yet," I said. "I don't want to just stop this. I want to expose him. I want to show everyone what he really is. His mother knows. She's been in on it from the beginning. She's been helping him. She's been cheering him on. I want to stand in front of all of them and prove what they tried to do to me." Sarah nodded slowly. "That's going to take some planning," she said. "If you want a public confrontation, you need to be smart about it. You can't just confront him in the driveway. You need to catch him at the right moment, when he can't squirm out of it, when his secrets are laid bare and there's no way to spin them." "I've got the perfect moment in mind," I said. "Ethan is hosting a charity gala for the company next week. It's a big event. All the important people will be there. The board members, the investors, the local press. It's his big moment to look like a philanthropist. He wants me to stand by his side, to smile and be the loving wife. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stand on that stage and I'm going to tell everyone exactly who he is." Sarah looked at me. I could see her thinking. I could see her calculating the risks and the rewards. "That's bold," she said. "If you do it right, you can destroy his reputation entirely. But if you do it wrong, you'll just look like a bitter wife. You need to have your facts straight. You need to have the evidence. You need to be prepared for him to try to discredit you." "I'm not afraid of that," I said. "I've got 18 years of his life documented. I've got bank statements. I've got text messages. I've got the photograph. I've got everything I need to prove what he did." Sarah nodded. "Then let's get to work," she said. "We've got a week. And we're going to make sure that Charity Gala is the last public appearance your husband ever makes." The week that followed was the strangest week of my life. I played the part. I was the doting wife. I helped Ethan prepare for the gala. I helped him pick out his tuxedo. I helped his mother pick out her gown. I smiled and nodded and acted like I had no idea what was coming. And all the while, I was working with Sarah. We were building the case. We were gathering the evidence. We were putting together the presentation that would destroy everything my husband had built. I found out about the mistress, too. Her name was Rachel. She'd been with Ethan for nearly 10 years. They had a son together, a son named Connor. The child in the photograph. Ethan had been supporting them. He had been hiding the money. He had been building a whole secret life while I was sitting at home, trying to be the perfect wife, trying to save our marriage. I found all of that out through a private investigator Sarah hired. The investigator tracked Rachel down. She was living in a small house about an hour away. Ethan visited her every other week. He told me he was going to business meetings. He was going to see his other family. He was going to see his son, who I never knew existed. His son, who was now 9 years old. 9 years old. And I had never seen him. I had never known he existed. I wanted to go to Rachel's house. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to scream at her. But Sarah told me not to. She's not your enemy, Sarah said. She's just another victim. He's been lying to her, too. He probably told her he was going to leave you. He probably promised her all kinds of things. She's not the one you need to focus on. She's just collateral damage in his war. I took that advice. I didn't go to Rachel. I didn't contact her. I focused on what I could control. I focused on the evidence. I focused on the plan. I focused on the gala. The night of the gala arrived. It was a beautiful evening. The venue was a grand hotel downtown. The lights were bright, the champagne was flowing, and everyone was dressed in their finest. Ethan looked like a king. His mother looked like a queen. They moved through the crowd, shaking hands, accepting praise, basking in the glow of their own success. They thought they had won. They thought they were untouchable. I was there, too. I was wearing a beautiful gown. A red gown that Sarah had helped me pick out. I looked like a movie star. I looked like a woman who had everything. And everyone who saw me thought the same thing. What a beautiful couple. What a perfect family. What a wonderful life. No one knew what was about to happen. Ethan made his speech. He talked about giving back to the community. He talked about the importance of charity. He talked about how proud he was of the company he had built. He was so good at this. He was so convincing. I stood on the stage beside him, smiling, nodding, the perfect wife. And then he introduced me. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Claire, he said. I couldn't have done any of this without her. She's been my rock. She's been my partner. She's been everything to me. The crowd applauded. They looked at me with admiration. They looked at him with respect. And I just smiled. I smiled and I looked at my husband, the man who had tried to destroy me, and I took a deep breath. Thank you for those kind words, I said. I want to say something, if that's okay. Ethan looked at me. He looked confused. He didn't expect this. This wasn't part of the plan. Of course, he said. Go ahead. I walked to the microphone. I cleared my throat. I looked out at the crowd. And I began. I've been married to Ethan for 18 years, I said. 18 years of love and laughter and sacrifice. 18 years of standing by his side through good times and bad. 18 years of believing in him, trusting him, supporting him. But tonight, I have to tell you something different. Tonight, I have to tell you the truth. The crowd went quiet. You could hear a pin drop. People were looking at me with curiosity. Some with concern. Some with confusion. Ethan was shifting uncomfortably beside me. His mother was frowning from her seat in the front row. I pulled the photograph out of my purse. The photograph of Ethan, Rachel, and Connor. The photograph of his secret family. I held it up. These are my husband's other children, I said. This is his mistress. He's been hiding them for 9 years. He's been hiding them while he was building a plan to destroy me. While he was siphoning money from our business accounts. While he was trying to frame me for the company's debts. While he was pretending to be a good husband and a good father. Gasps. Shocked whispers. Cameras flashing. The press was there. The press was always there. I could see the reporters scrambling to take notes. I could see the camera lenses pointed at me. I could see the fear in Ethan's eyes. "You're crazy," he said. "This is insane. This is a lie. She's making all of this up." "I'm not," I said. "I have evidence. I have bank statements. I have text messages. I have emails. I have the documents where you tried to forge my signature. I have the proof that you've been embezzling from the company. I have the proof that you've been hiding money in a shell account. I have everything." I reached into my purse again. I pulled out a folder. A thick folder. I held it up. "This is everything," I said. "This is the proof of your fraud. This is the proof of your theft. This is the proof of your betrayal. This is the proof that you are not the man you pretend to be." I looked directly at my husband. I looked directly into his eyes. I felt no pity. I felt no love. I felt nothing but cold, hard satisfaction. "Happy anniversary, Ethan," I said. "Our divorce papers are in there too." The room erupted. People were shouting. People were running toward the exits. The press was pressing forward, trying to get a better view, trying to get a better story. Security was trying to contain the chaos. Ethan was screaming at me. His mother was trying to attack me. I just stood there, watching the scene unfold, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. I felt free. Ethan was arrested that night. The bank accounts were frozen. The company was put into receivership. The board launched an investigation. They found everything: the embezzlement, the fraud, the shell company, the forged documents. They found everything. Ethan was convicted and sentenced to prison. His mother lost everything. She lost her house, her money, her status. She was nothing without her son's wealth. The mistress, Rachel, cooperated with the authorities. She told them everything. She had been complicit, but she cut a deal. She and her son moved away. I never saw them again. I kept the house. I kept the cabin. I kept everything that was rightfully mine. I started a new business. I made a new life. And I never looked back. But I want to tell you one more thing. Something I think about a lot. When the dust settled, I spent a lot of time alone. I spent a lot of time in my garden. I spent a lot of time thinking about the 18 years I had wasted on a man who never really loved me. I thought about all the things I had given up for him. All the opportunities I had passed up. All the dreams I had set aside. I thought about the son I would never have. The family I would never build. I was angry for a long time. I was filled with rage. I was filled with resentment. But eventually, I realized something important. Something that changed everything. I realized that Ethan had taken 18 years of my life. He had taken my youth. He had taken my fertility. He had taken my trust. But he hadn't taken my future. He hadn't taken my strength. And he hadn't taken my dignity. I realized that I could either let him destroy me, or I could use what I had learned to build something better. I could either let the bitterness consume me, or I could let it transform me. And I chose to transform. I chose to rise from the ashes of my marriage like a phoenix. I started writing. I started telling my story. I spoke to women's groups. I spoke to church groups. I told them my story. I told them what happened to me. I told them how I survived. I told them how I rebuilt my life. I wanted other women to know that they could survive, too. That they could rise, too. That they could be strong, too. There was one woman, a young woman named Jessica, who came up to me after a speech. She was crying. She was shaking. She told me her husband was doing the same thing to her. He was hiding money. He was planning to leave her. He was destroying her life. She didn't know what to do. She felt trapped. She felt hopeless. I looked at her. I looked at this young woman, this beautiful young woman who was so full of fear and sadness, and I took her hand. "I'm going to tell you the same thing I told myself," I said. "Don't get angry. Get smart. Get quiet. Get evidence. And when you're ready, use it. Use it to fight back. Use it to win." She called me a few months later. She told me she had done exactly what I said. She had gathered the evidence. She had hired a lawyer. She had won. She had kept her house. She had kept her children. She had kept her dignity. She told me I had saved her life. I smiled when I heard that. I smiled because I knew that all the pain I had suffered, all the betrayal, all the heartbreak had been worth it. Because it had helped someone else. Because it had made a difference. I learned something else, too. I learned that justice isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's about survival. Sometimes it's about moving forward. Sometimes it's about building something new out of the wreckage of something old. Sometimes it's about finding the strength to forgive yourself for the mistakes you made, and the trust you misplaced, and the love you gave to the wrong person. I live in that house now. The house I bought with my father's land. I still have the garden. I still have the flowers. I still have the mornings on the porch with my coffee, watching the sun rise over the mountains. I still have my memories. Some of them are painful. Some of them are beautiful. But all of them are mine. I have a new life now. A life I built for myself. A life I'm proud of. I'm not a victim. I'm not a survivor. I'm a victor. I won. I won because I refused to give up. I won because I refused to let him destroy me. I won because I fought back. If you are in the middle of a storm like mine, I want you to know something. You can survive. You can fight back. You can win. You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to let someone else define your story. You can write your own story. You can make your own destiny. You can rise from the ashes and build something better. The best revenge isn't revenge. The best revenge is a life so well lived that the person who wronged you can't even find a way to drag you down. The best revenge is happiness. The best revenge is peace. The best revenge is freedom. I found my freedom. I found my peace. And I hope you find yours, too. I think about my father a lot. I think about the lessons he taught me. I think about his hands, calloused from years of work, and how he used them to build a life for his family. I think about his voice, and how it was always calm and steady, even in the hardest moments. I think about what he would have said if he had seen me standing on that stage, exposing my husband for who he really was. He would have been proud. He would have been so proud. Because he raised me to be strong. He raised me to be resilient. He raised me to never give up. And I didn't give up. I fought. I won. And I became the woman he always knew I could be. I don't know where Ethan is now. I don't care. I don't know where Olivia is, either. I don't care. They are nothing to me now. They are ghosts. They are memories. They are lessons. They are reminders of the woman I used to be, the woman who trusted too much and loved too blindly. They are reminders of the woman I became, the woman who is strong and independent and free. I look at my life now, and I see a future. I see possibility. I see hope. I see a path forward, a path I built for myself, a path that leads to a better tomorrow. And I know that no matter what happens, no matter what obstacles I face, no matter what storms come my way, I can handle them. I can survive. I can thrive. Because I am the author of my own story. I am the captain of my own ship. I am the master of my own fate. And I am never, ever going to let anyone else take that away from me. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helped you. I hope it gave you strength. I hope it inspired you to fight for yourself, to believe in yourself, to never give up on yourself. Let's keep walking this road together. We have so many more stories to share, so many more lessons to learn, so many more victories to celebrate. And I want to be there for every single one of them. If you have a story like mine, I'd love to hear it. Share it in the comments. Share your journey. Share your pain. Share your victory. Because we are stronger together. We are braver together. We are better together. I'll see you next time. And remember, don't get angry. Get smart. Get quiet. Get evidence. And when you're ready, use it to win. Goodbye for now.